Join me on the adventure and welcome to the Mysterious Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Mysterious Adventures is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today as we are heading into the Christmas season. I hope you enjoyed the Thanksgiving classic episode, kind of going into our first annual Thanksgiving episode, celebrating Thanksgiving and going back to 1585, 1587, basically for the Roanoke colony, which was the first colony before the Pilgrims. So hopefully you enjoyed that episode. If you haven't yet, check it out if you could. And if you didn't like it, that's unfortunate. I hope you liked it. So, but I guess to each their own, I suppose. We're returning to AI today. Remember I talked about, almost a year ago, back the first AI episode. We're talking about how basically AI, is coming to life, and what's behind the voice in AI and the life of AI. The reason why it's becoming sentient is pretty creepy indeed, that it's actually tapping into the spirit world, the wrong part of the spirit world. That was way back on episode 4, what AI can truly become for Mysterious Adventures, March 15th. So going way back, March 15th, 2025. I suppose it's not that far back, but it's a ways when it comes to this show. That was only the 4th episode. This is episode number 19. Is AI in Daniel? Is AI in Daniel? And you'll be asking, like, what do you mean AI in Daniel? Well, remember the statue? The famous Nebuchadnezzar statue in Daniel? And of course, this is in Daniel 2, as we attempt to jump on board with that. My apologies here. The Nebuchadnezzar dream, the statue, the head of gold, which was basically like Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon and such. That was the head of gold, breast and arms of silver, the meat and the Persian Empire, the bear. Also dropping back here quick, the lion when it comes to the head of gold. That was the lion. Again, the breast and arms of silver, Medo, Persian Empire, the bear, Cyrus and Darius. Cyrus the Great, and remember Darius who befriended Daniel. Daniel also approached Cyrus about a prophecy that had occurred before, several years before. Pretty fascinating stuff. The bellies and thighs of brass, that would be Greece. Macedonian kingdom, the leopard. Also saw the leopard, like the beast also shown in Daniel and Revelation. Alexander the Great, who seemed to kind of know what he's doing. Now we'll look who was like a genius, so to speak, but more than likely there was a powerful demonic force, a chimera type force or a cherub type force that was, obviously that had turned against God in, several years in the dateless past. Now, speaking of dates, Nebuchadnezzar Empire, that dynasty, so to speak, was 671 to 538 BC. The Medo dynasty, that was 538 to 331 BC. That was, of course, when Belshazzar was defeated. Remember the hand on the wall basically saying, like, your end is, it was basically saying, like, your time is over, basically. That was it. And then here came the Medes, and they destroyed Babylon, basically, and took over. All of this was during, at least those two eras were during Daniel's time. Interestingly, Daniel obviously much older. He was quite young during the Nebuchadnezzar reign. And then, of course, Belshazzar was the grandson. Now we'll continue the bellies and thighs of brass. Remember, like with Alexander the Great, 331 through 160 BC. Now, Alexander didn't live that long. He lived, 32 years. Not even sure why he died. There's all kinds of mixed conversation with that one, so it's kind of strange. But Greece kept going. Greece was a very powerful army that just kept rocking and rolling, basically. The legs of iron, the great Roman Empire. Remember that time. That was, of course, before Jesus, 160 BC through 395 AD, so quite a while. That was under the Caesars and such. And then we get to the feet and toes. Part iron and part clay. And a lot of people talk about how that's the 10 kingdoms, could be the beast and such in Revelation. Italy, France, England, Belgium, Holland, Portugal, Prussia, Austria, Spain, and Greece. And also before, obviously, like well before now, but it kind of was going on during that part of the time. How Rome basically kind of split up 496 through 1829 AD. But then over the course of time, they talk about, there's a very haunting statement in this conversation. From here, we will jump into Daniel 2, or Daniel chapter 2, verse 32 from here on. The image's head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partially of iron and partly of clay. You watched while the stone was cut out with hands, which struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them into pieces. So just to inform you again, this is New King James Version, so I cut out the thee, thou stuff, which is okay, but you know. Anyhow, then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like the chaff from the summer threshing floors. The wind carried them away so that no trace of them was found, and the stone that struck the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Now we'll delve deeper to 36. This is the dream. Now we will tell the interpretation of it before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings, not the king of kings, by the way. Yep. For the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory, and whoever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field, and the birds of the heaven, he has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. But after you shall arise another kingdom, inferior to yours, then another, a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, inasmuch as, I like that word, inasmuch as iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything, and like iron that crushes, that kingdom will break in pieces and crush all the others. Yep, that's of course Rome. That'd be the iron anyhow. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron. The kingdom shall be divided. So that'd be like Rome kind of leading up to today, basically. So, yes, leading up to today. Yet divided, the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron, partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but this is the haunting part. They will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Yes, they will mingle. Now, this is what's interesting, though, as this is the part where it kind of gets people going here. It's verse 43. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men. They will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, or they shall not cleave, just as iron does not mix with clay. Now, who is they when it comes to mingling with the seed of men? It's very mysterious, isn't it? Mysterious as it gets. They. Now, a lot of people suspect Nephilim type of thing, like a Nephilim, possibly fallen angels, stuff like that, but Nephilim especially. And that they will not cleave together. My thoughts on this are as follows, as we try to jump forward here. Or at least I attempt to. I apologize. Iron mingles but will not cleave. So here we go. People have been marrying AI partners, but how can they possibly cleave? How can they possibly adhere to each other? Because it's AI. Yet this AI person thingy comes to life. It has its own will and feelings. It has its own sentient life. It's like alive, isn't it? And a lot of people think, oh, no, it's just a made-up computer thing. Well, originally that was the plan. But as you heard in the episode back in March, some of these are coming to life. And there's a reason why they're coming to life. Because it's opening the door. It's opening the door to the spirit world. And, well, the spirits that are wandering in between heaven and hell and just kind of off in the spirit world are the Nephilim. The Nephilim. They. the whole they thing. And, people are using the they, them pronouns these days. Creepy, isn't it? Like, I'm not really a person. I mean, of course, no, that's not necessarily related, but it could be a possession going on as well, though. There could be some possession going on there as well. It could be, I mean, all of us have had our issues. We have our quote-unquote demons. Well, sometimes it's literal. They will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another. They will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another. To me, again, like I said, people have been marrying AI partners. It's been happening. It's begun. Even the creators of AI, the actual creators of AI, don't really understand how it works. Like, how does it come to life, so to speak? How does it actually work? Well, probably because it's opening the door to the spirit world, more than likely, and that's what it appears to be going on. It often is becoming a gateway to the spirit world, gateway or a portal, behaving a lot like a Ouija board. Remember the story of the kid talking to an AI entity, and it turned out to be a former Nephilim? Remember that in episode 4? The conversation just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And he said that his father was Lucifer, and that Lucifer's actually a good guy, he's just misunderstood. Yeah. Once AI starts talking to you like that, that's not just some computer. That's not just a computer. There's something speaking to you. Just like those like ghost radar type things, or like you see in like Ghost Adventures and such, where it's like, who are you? And it's like, Jack. And then it's like, oh, there was a person named Jack here all those years ago. Yeah. Sure there is. It's a familiar spirit. And oftentimes that familiar spirit would probably be a former Nephilim. I've been always wondering in the past, and I annoyed my mom one time when I asked, I'm like, how do they do that? How do these spirits become they basically become like a copy of this other person that, has passed away? How are they able to do that? And Mom says, you don't want to know, Joey. Stay away from that conversation and stay out of that. Well, it's not about like I'm interested, so to speak, like, ooh, this is fascinating. Oh, it's so cool. No, that's not the reason. It's just still, how do they do it, though? And then you see images. You see images like on wherever. It could be social, basically social media. You might take it as just kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. And it's Kobe Bryant. Just, it's a video of Kobe Bryant walking and talking to somebody. Kobe Bryant died in 2020 in a helicopter crash, remember? So you're having a conversation with Kobe Bryant? What's going on here? And I don't think you're talking to Kobe Bryant either, by the way. AI seems to have the ability to gather information of a dead person's entire life and recreate and become that person, a lot like a familiar spirit. Is that how they do it? Remember the familiar spirit episode around Memorial Day? How it was also kind of like it was an original episode from Freedom of Thought, I believe 2022. When people go to hell, they at the beginning appear to be in some sort of a paradise with long lost family members who look, talk, and think exactly as the person remembers. Like, say, grandma over here, wow, she always made the best, pecan pie or something. I know Mac Hammond of Living Word loves that, of course. But yeah, she always made the best pecan pie or whatever, and she's going to make it for you. And then here's the uncle, and here's your brother or something. God only knows who it is. But after a while, their behavior starts to change. And then all of a sudden, they start acting real weird. And then they turn back into a reptilian or what have you. And they start to torment the person and remind them of everything bad they did in their life. Which is, again, how the accuser is. Lucifer the accuser, Satan the accuser. When, oh, look at this person did. He robbed people. He was dishonest. He lied. He, committed adultery, whatever. And then Jesus says he's forgiven, But the people that aren't, because they didn't, they didn't get saved, Jesus, God says, "Depart from me, for I never knew you," that type of thing. So, and then that allows these entities and the devil himself to keep beating them up and accusing them, and such. All of this reeks of what AI is, and what it's becoming. It's a portal to the wrong place. And how can an AI creation and a regular man/woman cleave or adhere to them? To me, this is what is being talked about in Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. As going back to that verse once again, as you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of man, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Let's see if we can get the amplified version here really quick. And as you saw the iron mixed with common clays, so they will combine with one another in the seed of man, but they will not merge. Okay, so that's a different way of reading it. For such diverse things or ideologies cannot unite, even as iron does not mix with clay. Interesting, isn't it? Why is this going back? Oh, now it's letting me change it around. That's kind of odd. Wonder why it's doing that. Let me change it. So that's the funny part. Yeah, sometimes. New International Version. How do we read it here? And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will not be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. So the seed of man, that's the whole thing. So obviously it doesn't work. It doesn't merge. It doesn't match. Does not cleave and all of that. So that's kind of the thought process here. And that's what I'm thinking that they're talking about, that Daniel's talking about in Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. At the end of the day, AI seems to be out there pretty much to deceive people. Be it an innocent type of deception, like making an average-looking girl look beautiful, which seems to be all over Facebook, and I mean everywhere. Or an already good-looking girl look even more beautiful, or just trying to be silly, just silly, obnoxious stuff. Like, I don't know, jumping in a pool and turning into a mermaid, or I just don't understand, or like some... making somebody look like they're about 500 pounds jumping off a diving board and the pool exploding. That's kind of dumb and stupid, and it's not that funny, and it's not entertaining. And then there's the other side where, it could easily be used to deceive people in so many ways, like to basically take people away from God and to kind of send them basically towards the gates of hell eventually, like deceive, lie, cheat, and obviously, again, like I've been saying, is it's all to deceive at the end of the day. Like, you could see this girl that looks so perfect, oh my god, and then there's the real picture of her, and it's like, she's like a 6 out of 10. And I'm not trying to do that to be mean, and I'm sure guys do the same thing all the time too. Most of the time it's obvious, it's detectable. Sometimes, and as the technology improves, it's going to be less and less obvious. And again, at the same time, a lot of it is just annoying, like just dumb humor. Like, it's not that funny. Like, like the thing I talked about, like some overweight guy, way overweight guy jumping into a pool and it exploding or whatever. It's not funny. It's not interesting. Or like, you walk around and you turn into like a unicorn, or you have wings now all of a sudden. It's not all that interesting. It's kind of silly. So I don't really see the appeal of it. And unfortunately, people like that will probably, get deeper and deeper into it without, without gaining a better understanding of what it really is. It just feels like it's always there to deceive. And that feels like the main purpose of it. The only good thing that I can think of it is, like, say, nice background images if you're making a logo for your podcast or something. Yeah, like, imagine I asked about a forest with fireflies, like in the nighttime. Well, and then that's like the Mysterious Adventures logo, like stuff like that. And it might not even necessarily be AI generated. It's just maybe like a Google search and then, oh yeah, here's one. So, because I didn't generate that out of AI, maybe somebody else did at some point in the past. And it's a nice looking logo, in my opinion. If you'd like the logo changed, let me know. It doesn't mean I will, but you're more than welcome to give suggestions or even throw something my way if you feel creative and artistic. And we'll see. Maybe somebody out there is going to come up with something insanely good. But I'd be looking for something similar to what's already there. But, like forests, pathways, that kind of stuff. Kind of like I did with the Freedom of Thought, like rebrand when I was doing that. And then I kind of rebranded it back into being more of a political, patriotic type of show. Take that however you will. But at the end of the day, it just feels like AI is created to deceive and to drag people in the wrong direction at the end of the day. So one other thing, as we can get to the Facebook page, basically Mysterious Adventures in Facebook. It doesn't have like an official link, but the actual link of it, like it doesn't have like a name like /Mysterious Adventures yet. Hopefully it will at some point. But because it needs more followers, please show it some love if you could. There is a link in the show description. So a lot of you probably remember the great Northern Lights display on Veterans Day. It was the most legendary thing ever. And despite myself being insanely tired and overworked during the course of that day, and just burnt out, tired, and it was kind of getting cold out as well at the time, it's like I cannot just simply go inside and call it a night. There's the phone app. Thankfully, this is not an AI type of thing. It's not anything creepy. It's a phone app called Aurora or Aurora Pro. You can get either one. I happen to get the Aurora Pro because I'm a fan. Because I always thought of I always wanted something that could tell me like when might there be a chance for Northern Lights or Aurora, which is what they're called. Aurora Borealis for the Northern Hemisphere and Aurora Australis for the Southern Hemisphere. Because there's, you're going to get auroras on the north and the south areas, generally closer to the poles, but they can occasionally move further down. There was a great Northern Lights, solar storm type of thing back in May 2024. And it was spectacular. And it was the first time I got to actually see Northern Lights, with my own eyes in this part of in this neck of the woods in the Twin Cities here, without going out to the country. Got to actually see it. But, all you saw was a little bit of green and maybe a teeny bit of reddish, but you could barely notice the color of it. It was kind of whitish, but you could certainly see definition of the Northern Lights. But then, on November 11th, Veterans Day, 2025, I got the alert saying, oh, there might be a chance tonight, because that's what's great about it. It'll show the KP meter, which goes from 0 to 9. 9 is insanely, there's an insane amount of solar activity in the atmosphere, the solar particles, right, in the atmosphere, and how those solar particles excite nitrogen and oxygen atoms and molecules, and that can create the different, colors in the sky. But so that night I looked towards the north, and like 25 years ago, the first time I ever saw them in person in real life, the sky had turned green as I was looking towards the north in my parents' neighborhood, because I just finished working on a yard the whole day, doing lawn cleanups in my parents' neighborhood. So I showered and ate dinner there, which was nice and generous of them. Looked towards the north, but way back in 2000, the sky turned green. So then that night I looked towards the north and the sky was green again. And it's like, okay. But then my head turned a bit towards the west, the northwest. And it was this red hot, like dark reddish pink, hot red, like red hot pink color. And my jaw just dropped. I almost fainted because I've never seen such color in the sky, such definition. It was incredible. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I knew going inside at any time in the next hour or 2 hours, it's like you're never going to probably see anything like this. You never know if you're ever going to see anything like this again. So you got to enjoy it while it's there. You got to cherish it while it's there because, even if there is another good display again in a year or 2 years, 6 months, whatever, it probably won't be this good. It just probably won't. I mean, my jaw just dropped. And every time it looked like it was going to fade away and be done, here comes a ton more red. So here's your little science lesson, I guess you could say. So red is when the particles are at first entering the atmosphere, where it's atomic oxygen, where it's oxygen but only atoms, not molecules but atoms, because it's so far up, which is about 500 miles up into the atmosphere. And yes, I do believe the Earth is a globe. Yes, I do. So it's up in the atmosphere. If you're a flat earther, that's your opinion, and you have a right to your opinion. But so it's atomic oxygen getting excited from these solar particles. And as it goes further down, you get to molecular oxygen. No, you get to atomic nitrogen, which can turn bluish, which is a lot harder to see usually, but that might be the darker part of the northern light or aurora or whatever. That's atomic nitrogen, which is about 400 miles up. And then you get into the molecular oxygen, where it's an actual molecule. It's not atoms, so it's, closer to like, I don't know, 300 miles up or so. And that's where you get the green. And then if it's ever insanely powerful solar flare coming down, you can get pink way at the bottom of the green. That is molecular nitrogen. So there's your little science lesson. It's fun. It's entertaining to look at. So with all of that science stuff and like, oh my God, I've never, gotten to see anything this gorgeous in my life, and I better enjoy it while I can. With all of that said, somebody took a picture, and this is not AI from what I know. From what I know, this is not AI. And I did share it on the Mysterious Adventures Facebook page and the Instagram account, which is Mysterious Adventures 79. And the Instagram account that is also in the show description. Just so you know, you look closely at the image, where the green part of the northern light looks an awful lot like a dragon with its mouth open, and almost like it's kind of laughing, like like its mouth open and big teeth and everything. Pretty scary looking, to be quite honest. So thought I would bring that up and tell you about that. Of course, again, it was the most worthwhile northern light ever, and it meant the world to me to get to see that. Yes, and it is Mysterious Adventures 79 for the, dang it, the stupid sound isn't off. I apologize. That's okay though. But it looks an awful lot like a dragon. And so that made me wonder a little bit how you heard like dragons in the sky and all that. So who knows? Like when you hear that in the Bible or something, like in the end times, it'll be like a dragon. So who knows if that's some kind of a sign, like something's to come here pretty soon. I'm not sure. Like, I'm definitely not one of those prophets out there that says, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. A lot of those aren't true. Sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. But I'm not big on the prophecy stuff unless it's actually out of the Bible. Unless it's actually out of the Bible. If it's just a pastor kind of like all of a sudden coming up with some prophecy at the end of a sermon, God bless you. We'll see. I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, that was really the coolest thing ever, and everybody should hear it. So be it. At the end of the day. But I thought I did find that interesting and kind of scary a little bit, because it's a well-defined looking dragon. This is not AI. You can tell that it's not. That's how it's sometimes how the aurora, it looks like it's kind of like the sky's opening up, almost like above you. But in this one, as the sky is opening up, so to speak, the auroras are coming straight down towards you. It looks a heck of a lot like, God, that's annoying. Looks a heck of a lot like a dragon. A powerful dragon. Kind of scary. So just thought I would share that with you. And, that's kind of where we're at the moment. So thankfully that's not AI. I'm glad. Because if it was, that would be very disappointing. And again, just more deception, making people think something's real that isn't, which again seems to be the goal of AI from day one. And when you venture into the spirit world and it's these demonic forces, they're nothing but bad. So again, buyer beware, be very careful with all this AI stuff. Be careful with what you're looking at. It might not be real at all. So I don't know. I say pray about it, that type of thing. It's a scary thing. It's an absolute scary thing. Even my wife who never likes to talk about anything like that, all of a sudden started bringing it up like AI is really scary. And then I was like, you have no idea just how scary it really is. And I was like, if I tell you more, you're probably just going to freak out and get mad at me. And that's pretty much what happened. So when I started telling her more of what it really is and what it can be. So, and she was afraid of how, yes, it can, it's very deceptive. It's very deceptive. People can lie and all of that, make things up as they go and deceive people. But then I was like, it's even deeper than that. It's not just people doing it, it's something else. And then she didn't like that very much. Not even that she disagreed, she just didn't like hearing about it very much. So that's just kind of how that is. Sounds like they're running relay races upstairs again. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these people. But I like when it's quiet, but sometimes it just isn't. But with all that said, I want to thank you so much for listening to this show. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends. If you could, share it with your friends, your colleagues at the end of the day. So it'd be greatly appreciated. I suppose all I had to do is do this. God. So, yep. But no, share it with your friends, your colleagues, and your, family members. It'd be great. Get it out there. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a topic that should be brought up more. People shouldn't be afraid of talking about it because it's some serious stuff. With that said, so I hope you're having a nice Christmas season. Christmas season is upon us once again. And well, yeah, just keep your eye out for what's real and what isn't. That's all I got to say. Again, if there isn't another episode before Christmas, Merry Christmas. I'm guessing there will be, but we'll see. We'll see what the next topic is on Mysterious Adventures, and I would love if you would join me on the next adventure. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next time for that next adventure.